menopause, does that mean men go through womenopause? Actually, they do, but it's called andropause. It's often overlooked or misdiagnosed and can cause all kinds of problems. Dr. Stephen Hotze, founder of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, is here with us to discuss this natural yet undiagnosed problem in older men. Also with us is Tom Stallman. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Deborah.
All right, I want to ask the ladies in the audience, how many of you know that your men have gone through the change? Acting up, aren't they? Yeah. All right, so we're joking about this, but really it does happen with men.
It does. Testosterone is the natural male hormone that men make starting at puberty, which governs male pattern behavior and male secondary male sex characteristics. As men age, their testosterone level declines. It reaches a peak in the mid-20s, early to mid-20s, and after that it begins to decline. So by the time a man's 40, it's about half the level it was when he was in his 20s. When he's 50, it's a third. When he's a 60, it's a fourth. And that's huge because testosterone impacts a man's behavior and the way a man thinks, the way a man feels about himself, the way a man looks, and his abilities.
Yeah, so how come we just don't really talk about that?
Well, men don't like to admit that things aren't as good as they used to be.
And were things just not as good as they used to be for you?
Amen.
What was happening?
Well, Deborah, I'm a land manager out southwest of Houston on the prairie. So I have to work in the heat. I went through a difficult period under a lot of stress for a long period of time, not realizing what stress can do to you.
Right.
And then I had something like a heat stroke, and my thyroid was damaged. My adrenal glands were just hammered.
Wow.
Lost them. And suddenly life changed for me. I felt bad all the time. Lost my heat tolerance. I had lost my thermostat, couldn't regulate my temperature. And I'm supposed to live on the prairie and work out there.
Yeah.
You know, shimmering heat waves and all that, and you can't stand the heat. I couldn't get sound sleep anymore. Had insomnia, had night sweats, which I didn't know what andropause was at the time.
Sounds like menopause, doesn't it?
I mean, just as bad as anything y'all have ever had. I ached all over. All of your joints ached. Lost my stamina. Had trained all my life. Had been something of an athlete. And suddenly you just had no strength and no stamina. And as far as your demeanor, if you've ever seen the movie Grumpy Old Men?
Yes.
That's a loss of testosterone.
Yes, that's what my mom says. She's like, load up, honey.
That's it. I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah.
What am I leaving out?
But really, okay, so when all that stuff is happening to you, because, you know, I have a thyroid issue, and so I just felt like I was losing my mind. And you know, you start to think the worst. You're thinking, is it something that really, really serious that I'm dealing with here? And it is serious, but what kinds of things entered your mind?
Well, eventually it got so bad. Out of sheer discipline, I just kept persevering. And I went to different doctors. No one could really help me.
What were they saying to you? Or were they giving you things to address the symptoms but not coming up with...
Yes, you've had a heat stroke. Yes, your thyroid is crippled. You've lost the thermostat. You can't control your body temperature. I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to live like a lizard. When it gets cold, find someplace warm. When it gets warm, find someplace cold.
Can you imagine that?
For the rest of your life.
Basically, they said deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it.
And Dr. Hotze, this is like a situation where you kind of go, wow, severe. But not all situations are that severe. It's just a natural moment that those hormones start to decline and people start to feel it.
Well, the decline normally is gradual. In Tom's case, the stress that he was living under in a business situation and the heat stroke kind of precipitated a crash, which lasted for about 10 years.
About 10 years.
Before it came. As a matter of fact, you told me that you felt like you were on the way out.
I wasn't sure how long I would still be alive.
Yeah.
That's
and then getting out of bed every day was harder and harder, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so this is a common presentation in both men and women at our center. As the hormone levels decline, the sex hormone levels, the thyroid hormone levels, our adrenal hormones, as they decline, it has a tremendous adverse impact on our health and the way we feel. So what does it lead to? Fatigue, difficulty with weight, inability to focus and think clearly, maybe cold sensitivities, joint muscle aches and pains.
Part of what we call aging.
Right. Sure. And it's a natural occurrence, but it's not healthy, and it can be reversed by simply replenishing the body with the hormones that are declining, the same identical hormones. We call those bioidentical hormones.
Right. And is part of that just the fact that we outlive what parts of our body intended to do?
Well, that's right. As we age, our glands that make the hormones, the chemical messengers that instruct our cells what to do. As we age, our endocrine glands, the glands that make the hormones, decline in their production. And so our cells don't know what to do, and they don't do much. So then we get middle age, and we get all these symptoms, and we go see the doctors, and they do various blood tests. And because the blood tests are the range is so broad, they tell us everything like Tom. Well, you know, learn to live with it, or else they end up giving us antidepressants and sleep medications and anti-inflammatory.
Things to treat the symptoms, but not the cause. All right, you mentioned bioidentical. What is that compared to regular medication?
Well, bioidentical hormones are the same identical hormone molecularly, the structure that your body made when you were younger,
your body
in adequate
amounts.
amounts.
It's not its own.
Right. Your body thinks it's its own, and it acts like its own, and it works the way your natural hormones work, as opposed to counterfeit hormones that aren't the same structure, that have a host of side effects, and that's what's dangerous, like the Premarin and the Prempro. And in fact, there's a counterfeit testosterone called methyl testosterone. And why would they change something that was natural into another structure? So they can patent it and make a profit on it and sell it. And
you know, there are a lot of people who disagree with you on that. There are a lot of professionals that will say, no, that's not true. But your argument is...
Well, let me just tell you, just go look at, hey, drug companies are in the business of making profits, which there's nothing wrong with a profit, but to create drugs that have severe adverse effects and to pawn those on the American public, I think is really unethical at best.
All right, and let me just ask you, how do you feel today?
I feel great. In fact, I can do, I'm 57 years old. I can do as many push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups as when I was a senior in high school.
Drop it right now. I want some push-ups. I want some push-ups right now as we go to break here.
Okay, how many do you want to do?
You can find out more at HWC.com. All right, sometimes it's hard to drag a man to the doctor to check his prostate. He's still going, but early detection could save his life. The symptoms to look out for and how to treat it coming up.
Get ready for hurricane.